The explosion sent tremors through the station's underbelly. Pipes rattled, lights flickered, and thick smoke spilled into the corridor like a living thing. Alara stumbled forward, her left leg dragging behind her. Sparks flew from her knee joint. Her prosthetic sleek once, now cracked and twitching, were failing. She slammed a hand on the wall, trying to keep herself upright. Another warning blinked red on her wrist pad. Servo failure imminent. She had minutes stopped behind her. The sound of boots echoed. Not hers, those of the patrol droids. Cold machines with orders to shoot on sight. She had broken protocol, crossed into a human-only sector without clearance. But she didn't care. Not anymore. She had one name, one chance left. Jacob Wren, she whispered, voice shaking with static from her damaged throat mic. Some said he was a myth, a ghost of the human-mechary war. Others said he lived deep in the slums of Sector 12, fixing old machines for scraps. A human engineer so skilled, even the most advanced prosthetics obeyed him like pets. Alara wasn't supposed to be here. As a royal enforcer of the Mechary Empire, she had once hunted humans. Now she was crawling through their ruins, wounded, desperate, unrecognizable even to herself. Her right leg gave out. She collapsed hard, metal striking metal. Her vision blurred. A dark smear of oil seeped from her left arm where the prosthetic had cracked. But then, through the static of her comlink, she heard a voice. Stop crawling. You'll make it worse. She froze. A man's voice. Calm, rough. A shadow moved at the end of the corridor. A figure stepped into view, broad-shouldered, wearing an old engineering exosuit patched with old Earth logos. His beard was unkempt, eyes sharp, and one hand held a metal case. Jacob Wren, she breathed. He didn't reply. He knelt beside her, scanned her prosthetics, and muttered under his breath. MK7 limbs, Mechary tech. Expensive and stupid. Alara winced. They're all I have. Not for long, he said, cracking open the case. Inside were tools unlike anything she had seen, custom-fitted, handmade, dirty but precise. With a few swipes on his wrist pad, he disabled her pain sensors and began to work. Sparks flew, wires sparked, metal hissed. She wanted to ask questions, but couldn't move. She felt cold, tired. Why are you helping me? She asked quietly. Jacob didn't look up. I don't like people dying in my corridor. But I'm Mechary? He interrupted. Yeah, I noticed. Doesn't change the fact you're breaking apart in front of me. Alara stared at him, confused. No one, not even her own kind, had shown this kind of care. A deep boom shook the ground again. The droids were close now. Jacob's eyes narrowed. Can you move? No. He closed his kit with a sharp click and looked at her prosthetic leg. Then we're improvising. Before she could protest, he lifted her over his shoulder like she weighed nothing, sparks falling from her joints. She flinched. Careful, she hissed. Yell at me later. He ran down the dark corridor, ducking into a side shaft, sliding through a maintenance tunnel barely wide enough for one. The world became a blur of smoke, steel, and Jacob's steady breathing. After several turns and a near miss with the drone, he pushed open a wall panel, stepped inside a small room lit with blue glow lamps, and locked the door behind him. A nest of cables and half-finished machines lined the shelves. Old Earth posters curled on the walls. Jacob laid her down gently on a padded bench. You're safe. For now. Alara's systems flickered. Her vision cleared just enough to see Jacob leaning over her again, expression unreadable. I can fix you, he said. But if I do, you owe me answers. She nodded. Slowly. Deal. Her voice cracked. Her limbs sparked. But for the first time in days, she felt like maybe she would survive. And maybe, just maybe, That human would be the one to change everything. Asterisk, the repair bench hummed as Jacob sensed his tools to Alara's failing systems. His fingers moved fast, steady, like this was just another broken machine. But she wasn't just metal and wires, she was still alive inside the suit. Though barely, he tapped the side of her prosthetic leg. You've got anti-human firewalls in your joints. These things are meant to fry themselves if I touch them. Alara blinked, struggling to focus. They were designed for combat. To stop human tampering. Well, too bad, I'm tampering. He plugged in a custom jack. Sparks flicked across the table. Her leg twitched. The smell of scorched titanium filled the room. Where did you get damaged? He asked, voice still calm. Border conflict. A black site mission. My squad was ambushed. Jacob frowned. By humans? She looked away. No, something else. It wasn't human tech. And we were told to keep it quiet. Jacob leaned back, suspicious. And let me guess. After that, your people left you behind. She nodded. He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. Typical. Alara studied him. He didn't seem angry, just tired. Like he'd seen too much. You hate my kind, she said. Jacob didn't answer at first. He stared at a burnt circuit in her shoulder and began rewiring it. I fought your kind. That's different. But you helped me. I help machines, he muttered. And unfortunately, you're 50% metal. She almost laughed, but the pain stopped her. Her arm jerked. Jacob caught it, gritting. His teeth. That's your neural loop overheating. Hold still. He injected something into her wrist, a cooling agent. A second later, the burning stopped. You're lucky I have mercury-grade coolant, he said. Why do you have it? Jacob paused. Because I've fixed others before you. Not all mercury follow orders like you think. Alara blanked. You've helped my kind before? Some defectors? Some spies? Some who just wanted a way out. She stared at the ceiling, processing that. Then her eyes narrowed. Why do you live like this? Alone? Hidden? Jacob's eyes darkened. I was once part of the resistance. Fought the Empire. Fixed everything from plasma rifles to powered limbs. But after the war, I was declared excess. Too dangerous. Too skilled. My people turned on me. Silence fell between them. Alara didn't know what to say. She wasn't used to humans. Being human. He snapped a panel closed on her leg. You'll need new power cells soon. These ones are cooked. I can't pay you. Jacob grunted. Didn't ask. She looked at him. You still want answers? He nodded. All right. She whispered. The thing that attacked us. It was not part of your species or mine. It looked ancient, biological, but enhanced. It melted through my squad's armor like it was paper. Jacob's face grew hard. How many survivors? None. Just me. And only because I escaped with a crippled leg. He leaned against the bench, processing that. So you're telling me, something new is out there. Something neither of our sides built. Alara nodded slowly. And I think the Empire is covering it up. Jacob stood in silence, the hum of her limb fading into background noise. Then, from somewhere outside, a sound echoed, heavy boots and mechanical clanking. Alara's eyes widened. Patrol droids. They tracked me here. Jacob didn't hesitate. He grabbed the cloak, tossed it over her, and powered down the repair lights. You can't fight them, she warned. They're faster, stronger. Jacob opened a panel in the wall and pulled out a strange, old-looking device. I don't need to fight them, he said with a grim smile. I just need to mislead them. He pressed a button. The machine let out a high-frequency pulse that rattled the air. Outside, the footsteps paused, then turned away. Alara stared at him, impressed. You built a misdirection pulse? I built a lot of things, he said, sitting beside her. Some are still classified by your empire." She smiled faintly despite the pain. "Maybe you really are a legend." Jacob raised a brow. "Maybe you're just easy to impress." Her systems beeped a good sign this time. Her legs were stabilizing. Her arm rebooted. She felt stronger. "Thank you," she said as he stood up. "Don't thank me yet. If your story is true, then something bigger is coming. And I don't think either of our people are ready." Alara stood slowly, testing her repaired limbs. Her legs no longer sparked, and her arm responded with a smoothness she hadn't felt in weeks. She flexed her fingers and turned her head toward Jacob, who watched her quietly while cleaning his tools. "They feel almost like before," she said. "Good enough to walk?" he asked without looking up. She took a step, then another. A faint whir echoed from her knees, but no pain followed. "Yes. Then we don't have much time." Jacob packed his gear. "If the Empire's hunting you, and this thing you saw is real, we have to find out what it is, fast." Alara tilted her head. "You're not running?" "I've been running long enough." A moment passed between them, tense, uncertain. Then Jacob opened a panel behind the workbench, revealing a narrow lift shaft. He tossed her a dark cloak. "Wear it. Your armor's too recognizable." She caught it and slipped it over her shoulders. The scent of old smoke and metal clung to the fabric. "Where are we going?" He tapped a worn tablet on the wall. A hidden floor lit up on the map. "There's someone who might know what you saw. A former war tech named Grell. Lives deep in the scavenger levels." Alara narrowed her eyes. "Human? Or mechary?" "Neither. He builds tech for whoever pays, human, alien, criminal. But he's smart and paranoid, which makes him useful." They stepped into the lift. The platform creaked and descended into darkness. Old lights flickered on, revealing rusted pipes and moldy wiring. Below them, the station groaned like a wounded beast. "Why help me, Jacob?" Alara finally asked. "You could have turned me in, sold my parts for a fortune." He gave her a sideways glance. "Because I've seen enough war to know it doesn't care who wins. If you saw something that powerful, we all have a problem, not just your empire." The lift jolted to a stop. A thick gate opened slowly, revealing the scavenger market. It was chaos. Creatures from dozens of species argued over scraps. Vendors shouted. Smoke curled from makeshift grills. Everyone looked armed. Alara pulled her hood down. "Will they recognize me?" Jacob smirked. "Only if they've got reason to look. Keep your head low." They moved through the crowd. Jacob led her into a narrow alley behind a cybernetic pawn shop. A mechanical voice from above shouted, "Nitrogen monoxide returns. No credits? Nitrogen monoxide refunds." Jacob banged on a steel hatch in the wall. After a moment, a lens slid open. "Grell," Jacob said calmly, "I need a favor." The lens zoomed in on Alara's face. "No humans, no empire, no cops." "She's not any of those right now," Jacob said. "She's broken, and she's seen something." A pause. Then the hatch unlocked. Inside, it was dim and cluttered with text stacked to the ceiling. Screens blinked with unreadable code. A spider-legged creature sat in a swivel chair, chewing something glowing and foul-smelling. "Grell," Jacob said, "we need a data trace. Cross-reference mechary incident reports with neural shockwaves and unidentified energy spikes." Grell clicked his jaws. "That's expensive." Jacob tossed him a chip. "So is dying." The creature sniffed the chip, and then plugged it in. "All right. Let's see what you've stirred up." Alara watched the screens. A map appeared highlighting a red zone far outside the normal Empire patrol routes. "That's it," she said, pointing. "That's where my squad was destroyed." Grell frowned. "There have been silent scrambles in that sector. Whole squads pulled out. No reports filed, Just vanishing data. Jacob leaned forward. What's there? Grell hesitated. Old. Ruins. Pre-Empire. Something no one's claimed yet. Rumors say it's cursed. Biotech left behind by something ancient. Alara went pale. It wasn't a rumor. Jacob's jaw clenched. Then we're going there. Grell shook his head. You'll need clearance, and a ship, and insanity. I've got 2 out of 3, Jacob muttered. We'll get. The ship? Alara turned to him. You're serious? If that thing killed your entire squad and the Empire's covering it up, then we need to see it for ourselves. She touched her repaired arm, still amazed it worked. Then I'm coming. With you. Good, Jacob said. You're my proof. Asterisk, the scrapyard ship was barely holding together. Its hull patched with mismatched plates and its engine humming like a dying beast, but Jacob called it a beauty. Alara stepped onto the landing ramp and frowned. It's crooked. She flies, Jacob replied. That's all we need. The ship, the Rustwing, wasn't meant for long-range stealth. But Jacob had modified it with cloaking panels, hidden thrusters, and a power core no scavenger should ever have. Alara guessed some of the upgrades were stolen, others may be salvaged from old Mechary tech. Inside, it smelled of oil, dust, and recycled air. Screens lined the walls. Most flickered with errors, but a few glowed green. Jacob climbed into the pilot seat. You'll want to strap in. These stabilizers are from a mining rig, not a cruiser. Alara buckled herself into the co-pilot chair. Her joints clicked softly. She still wasn't used to how smooth her limbs now felt. Jacob's repairs were almost too good. The ship rumbled, lifting slowly off the deck. Outside, the scavenger market shrank beneath them as they ascended into the upper atmosphere of the junk station. Then space opened wide. Black. Quiet. Endless. Jacob plotted a course to the forbidden zone. As the Rustwing punched into warp. Alara broke the silence. You believe me, about what I saw. Jacob didn't look at her. Belief has nothing to do with it. I've seen enough to know that unexplained things usually mean real danger. I thought humans were more skeptical. He gave a dry laugh. That's what keeps us alive. They traveled in silence for a while. Then alarms flashed red. Something's locking on, Jacob said sharply. We've got a tail. Alara sat up. Mechary? He checked the signal. Not quite. Looks like an old stealth drone Empire make, but not standard. Someone wants to make sure you don't come back. The ship shook as the drone fired a warning blast. Jacob veered the controls. Hang on. The Rustwing dove spiraling through an asteroid field just outside the red zone. The drone followed, slipping through the debris like a shadow. Jacob punched buttons, rerouted power to the rear thrusters, and pulled off a narrow roll between 2 spinning rocks. Now would be a good time to tell me your prosthetic arm has weapons, he muttered. Alara focused. A panel on her forearm flicked open, revealing a retractable pulse cannon. I do, she said calmly. Hold her steady. Jacob did his best. The ship dipped, shook, and lined up. Alara aimed through the small window, locked onto the drone's energy core, and fired. Bright blast. The drone flared, spun, and exploded into dust. Nice shot, Jacob said, impressed. Alara smirked. I was trained to be deadly. He glanced at her. Let's hope that training works down there. The ship left the asteroid field and slowed. As it neared the red zone, a vast dark planet hung in space, no orbiting satellites, no signal, no welcome. Just a void. This is the place, Jacob said. As they descended through the thin clouds, the ground came into view. Cracked terrain stretched for miles. Alien spires rose like broken fingers from the surface, covered in glowing veins. And in the center, a massive crater pulsed with faint blue light. Alara stared. That's where it happened. Jacob landed near the crater's edge. As the ramp lowered, they stepped out into silence. The air was dry, unnaturally still. Not even wind moved. The ground crunched under their boots. Jacob scanned the crater while Alara watched the distant ruins. Then a low hum echoed through the sky, deep and unnatural. Jacob turned. "Did you hear that?" Alara nodded, drawing her weapon. "It's starting again." Suddenly the ground trembled. Blue energy sparked beneath their feet. And from the far side of the crater, a shadow rose tall, armored, not quite machine. Not quite flesh. Its eyes burned red. Alara's breath caught. "That's it. That's what killed my team." Jacob's jaw tightened. "We found our problem." The creature stepped forward slowly, each footstep cracking the earth. Alara aimed. Her cannon. Ready? Jacob powered up a pulse grenade. Let's see if legends bleed. The creature's body moved like liquid steel, smooth, heavy, powerful. It towered over them, easily 3 meters tall, armored with glowing ridges that pulsed like veins. Its face was blank, no mouth, no nose, only 2 burning red slits for eyes. Alara's fingers trembled on the cannon's trigger. Jacob stepped forward, holding the pulse grenade behind his back. "Don't shoot yet," he said softly. "Let's see what it does." The creature paused, tilting its head. A low clicking noise came from deep inside its chest. Then it pointed directly at a LARA dot. She tensed. "It knows me." "Or remembers you," Jacob muttered. "That's worse." The thing raised an arm. Blue energy crackled around its palm, swirling into a sphere of raw power. In an instant, it hurled the blast at them. Down. Jacob shouted. They dove in opposite directions as the energy hit the ground, sending up a wave of heat and dust. Rocks flew, the air burned, and the force knocked Jacob into a wall of crystal-like stone. He groaned, rolling over. "Okay, that answers that." Alara recovered fast. Her legs launched her forward with mechanical speed. She fired 3 plasma bursts at the creature's chest. The shots hit, burning into its armor, but the thing barely flinched. Direct hits did nothing. She yelled. Jacob gritted his teeth and pulled the pin on the pulse grenade. "Let's try human ingenuity." He lobbed the grenade at the creature's feet. The device beeped twice and exploded in a blinding flash. A shock wave of sound and magnetic force rippled outward. The creature staggered, its balance thrown off. It reeled, then slammed a massive fist into the ground to steady itself. "That stunned it," Alara shouted. Only for a second, but it worked. Jacob climbed to his feet. "Then we need more of those." They retreated behind a fallen pillar, breathing hard. Jacob pulled a small scanner from his belt and scanned the air. "This thing's leaking radiation," he muttered. "But it's not nuclear. It's biological, like a living reactor." Alara's eyes widened. "A hybrid. Exactly. This isn't tech. It's something grown, designed, alive, and abandoned," she whispered, "or hidden." The creature stomped forward again, slower this time. Its armor showed light damage, hairline cracks, tiny exposed wires, but it was still dangerous. Too dangerous. "We can't kill it," she said. "Not with what we have." "Then we don't," Jacob replied. "We trap it." Her eyes darted to him. "With what?" "I've got a backup EMP charge inside the ship. High output, unstable. If I set it off close enough, it might fry whatever nervous system that thing's using." Might isn't reassuring. He glanced at her. "You want a guarantee? Go hide." Alara grabbed his arm. "I'm going with you." Jacob hesitated, then nodded. "All right. But if we do this, it has to be fast." They sprinted back toward the ship, ducking behind wreckage as the creature followed, slow but relentless. Once aboard the Rustwing, Jacob dove into a side compartment and pulled out a metal case the size of a small crate. He opened it to reveal a glowing, unstable energy core surrounded by sharp stabilizers. "This is your trap?" Alara asked. Jacob strapped it to his chest. "It's either this, or we run forever." They left the ship again, this time moving toward a narrow ravine on the crater's edge. Jacob placed the charge near a pile of old ruins. He tapped a few keys and set a timer. 10 seconds delay. Remote trigger only. The creature came into view, stepping over the ridge like a god of war, its energy weapon built again in its hands. "Now!" Jacob shouted. They split again, Alara firing to distract. Jacob circling behind. He dove behind cover, pulled the trigger on his wrist pad, but nothing happened. "No signal," he cursed. "The interference is too strong." Alara ducked behind a boulder, her cannon nearly overheated. "What do we do?" Jacob stood, looking at the pulsing charge just meters from the beast. Then he looked at her. "We detonate it manually." She froze. "You'll be vaporized. Better one of us than both." She stepped forward. "No, you fixed me. You gave me a second chance." "I'll do it." "No," Jacob said quietly. "You saw the truth. The Empire needs your voice." Then, without another word, he sprinted toward the device. Alara screamed, "Jacob!" But the moment never came. The creature suddenly stopped. It stared at Jacob, then at the charge, and backed away. It turned slowly, then disappeared into the blue-lit ruins beyond the crater. Alara ran to Jacob's side. "What happened?" she gasped. He stared at where the creature vanished. It recognized something. Maybe the core. Maybe me. She looked at him, confused. "Jacob, what aren't you telling me?" He looked away, jaw clenched. "There's a reason I knew how to fix Mechary prosthetics." Asterisk. The silence after the creature vanished was louder than the explosion that never came. Jacob stared into the ruins, where only faint blue pulses remained. Alara stood beside him, her breathing unsteady, her system still humming from the fight. Her mind spun with questions, but one echoed louder than the rest. "What did you mean?" she asked. "Why would it recognize you?" Jacob didn't answer immediately. Instead, he knelt beside the unstable EMP core and disarmed it with a few quick taps. The device powered down with a soft sigh of steam. Only then did he speak. "Before I became a rogue mechanic, I worked with the Empire." Alara's eyes widened. "Impossible. You fought against us in the war." He nodded slowly. "Yes, but before that, before the war even started, the Mechary approached a small team of human engineers with a proposal. We were told it was a peace effort collaboration on advanced prosthetic technology. They gave us data, samples, even access to ancient ruins." Alara's voice turned cold. "You helped build this?" "No," Jacob said firmly, "but I think I helped lay the groundwork." He stood up, brushing dust from his coat. "We developed hybrid tech, guided by recovered materials we didn't fully understand. My team thought we were improving medicine, helping soldiers walk again, not turning them into that." Alara's hand rested on her chest where her synthetic heart quietly ticked. "So your tech is inside me?" Jacob met her eyes. "It might be. At least the foundation of it. We left when we learned the truth. The project was never about peace, it was about weaponizing biology. The Empire used what we built and buried what we feared." She looked toward the ruins, her expression unreadable. "And the creature?" "I think it's a prototype. Not just a weapon. A guardian, maybe. Left behind to protect something ancient, something still down there." "Why didn't it kill us?" Jacob exhaled. "Because I still carry a neural tag from the original project. I never removed it. It might have thought I was part of the team." Alara shook her head, trying to absorb it all. "So what now?" We go back and warn both sides? Jacob glanced toward the blue-lit crater again. We can't go back yet, not without evidence. You want to go in there? He nodded. If something's buried in those ruins, tech, records, even another creature, we need to find it. If the Empire's hiding this, they'll destroy anyone who knows the truth. Alara clenched her fist. Then we'll stop them. The next few hours were spent preparing. Jacob adjusted her prosthetics again, reinforcing the joints. He downloaded a sensor app to her HUD, syncing it to his tablet. They packed what little gear they had left, rations, repair tools, signal flares, and moved toward the ruins. They crossed into the crater just after the second moon rose. The terrain changed. Stone turned into metallic vines. Crystal roots pulsed. With soft light, it felt less like a ruin and more like the inside of something still living. Alara ran a scan. This structure, it's growing. Not dead, alive. Jacob stopped beside a giant stone door embedded in the wall. Strange symbols glowed across its surface. As he raised his hand, the door pulsed and slid open with a low growl. Inside was a massive chamber, dark, circular, and humming with ancient energy. At its center floated a sphere the size of a transport pod. It spun slowly, suspended above a pool of glowing fluid. Symbols danced across its surface. Jacob approached cautiously. That's a data core. Alara followed, awe in her eyes. Older than the Empire. Maybe older than the species who built it. He tapped a scanner against the sphere. A stream of data spilled onto his wristpad, untranslated, encrypted, but massive. This is it, he whispered. Proof. Suddenly, alarms rang in their ears, short-range alerts. Incoming. Alara turned to the doorway. Multiple signals. Not drones, soldiers. Jacob's face hardened. The Empire followed us. She raised her arm cannon. We can't let them take this. He copied the data to his pad and snapped the tablet into a hidden compartment in his chest armor. They won't, he said. Even if they kill us, the truth won't die. Heavy footsteps echoed in the corridor. Alara's arm glowed. Jacob's hand reached for a hidden weapon tucked into his boot. Together, side by side, they faced the doorway. The fight for the truth was about to begin. The first Imperial trooper stepped through the doorway with a rifle raised, face hidden behind a sleek helmet. Behind him came two more, weapons glowing with stun pulse rounds. None of them spoke. Their orders were clear: retrieve the data. Eliminate witnesses. Jacob didn't hesitate. He threw a micro-flash grenade into the corridor. A blinding light burst across the chamber, forcing the soldiers to duck. Alara moved instantly, launching herself into a slide that ended in a sweeping kick. Her enhanced leg hit one trooper in the chest, sending him flying back against the wall. The others fired blindly, pulse shots striking the chamber's walls and sending sparks through the air. Jacob rolled behind a column, pulled out his old sidearm, a relic from the war, and returned fire with precise, short bursts. Alara moved like a shadow, her limbs cinched in perfect unity. One of the soldiers tried to pin her with a stun net. She twisted mid-air, the net missing her by inches, then struck with her arm cannon at close range. The impact sent a wave of force through the air, knocking the soldier out cold. They're not giving up, Jacob shouted. They'll keep sending more. Alara ducked behind cover beside him, her systems flashing with minor damage. Then we give them what they want, just not the way they expect. She looked at the ancient data core. The orb still floated. Silently, its energy slowly dimming as if sensing danger. Jacob pulled the tablet from his chest compartment. The backup copy's complete, but the original if it falls into Empire hands. Alara stared at the orb, then made her decision. She ran to the core, climbed onto the platform and began rerouting its power through her arm. Her system screamed in protest. Sparks flew from her shoulder. Her eyes glowed faint blue. "What are you doing?" Jacob yelled. "Overloading it," she said. "If they can't have it, no one will." The remaining soldiers fired again. One shot grazed Jacob's arm. He dropped to a knee, bleeding but conscious. Alara screamed as the energy surged through her. Her entire body lit up, veins of power racing through her synthetic limbs. The orb cracked with a deafening hum. Jacob crawled toward her. "Alara, you won't survive the surge." She looked back, face calm despite the agony. "You saved me when no one else would. Let me return the favor." The orb burst into light. A wave of energy exploded outward, not deadly, but blinding. It passed through the chamber like a shockwave of memory. The soldiers dropped their weapons, stunned and frozen, as the pulse struck their armor and knocked out their systems. Lights flickered. The chamber trembled. When the light faded, the core was gone, melted into a pool of silver at Alara's feet. She collapsed, twitching. Smoke curled from her limbs. Jacob caught her before she hit the floor. "Alara!" She blinked weakly. "Systems offline. Just stay with me." "I'm here," he said, holding her close. Moments later, he stabilized her vitals with an emergency injector. Her breathing leveled out. The worst had passed. Outside, the rest of the soldiers retreated. Their comms were down. Their orders impossible to carry out. Whatever they had hoped to seize was gone, erased by the one they underestimated. Alara lay on the ground, half her armor scorched, her hair clinging to her face, but alive. Jacob patched her back together for the second time. Later, aboard the Rustwing, they watched from orbit as the ruins of the ancient chamber began to collapse in on themselves, blue light fading into the planet's crust. It was as if the land itself was hiding again, keeping its secret safe for now. Alara sat in the co-pilot seat, her repaired arm resting in her lap. "We stopped them, but only this time." Jacob nodded. "We bought time. But this story isn't over." She looked at him. "The truth is still in your hands." He held up the data tablet. "We get this to someone who will listen. Someone outside the Empire. Someone who still believes in truth." She smiled faintly. "You're more than just an engineer." He looked at her, equally tired and proud. "And you're more than a weapon." The stars stretched out before them as the Rustwing jumped to light speed, carrying two fugitives, one human, one half machine, who might just be the galaxy's last hope to stop the next war before it began.